Hello everyone. I am coming to you today from a place outside of the church. I am here, not inside any building as you can tell, enjoying this beautiful weather that has so conveniently coincided with my desperate attempts to get out of my house a little more. While in part this filming location was chosen because of ease of access, it is also related to what I wanted to talk about today. Tony has reminded us that Easter is a season, and not just one Sunday out of the year. And frankly, my sense of days of the week and time are so messed up right now that you could tell me it was still Easter Sunday, and I'd believe you. But I wanted to reflect on this Easter story a little bit more, especially after we just missed out on Operation Inasmuch, and we were challenged to find new ways to live out that calling to help our community. This time of quarantine has continued to force us to find new ways to do, well, just about everything. Strangely, I feel more connected to the early church now than I ever have before, and not just because of the early church's habit of preaching the Easter story every chance they got. In a way, there's a lot of similarity between the tomb that the women found on Easter morning and the church building. The women who went to the tomb on that Sunday morning were expecting to find Jesus, but instead the tomb was empty. People come to church on Sunday looking for Jesus, but right now, the church is empty. And sure, we can tell people in advance that they don't need to come into church on Sunday because the building will be empty, but didn't Jesus tell the disciples that as well? And yet the women came anyway, because they knew they needed Jesus, and this was the only way they knew to find him. This is something that I can see happening even today, as one of our youth did their best to reenact that scene. After having had a couple of virtual youth meetings, we were getting ready for our next one, and I noticed that someone who's usually there was missing. I don't try to harp on these things too much, because, there's plenty of reasons why someone might not be able to come on a given week. But this person did make it eventually, albeit pretty late into the meeting, so I was curious as to what it was that had held them up to make them come late and not just miss the whole thing. Upon further investigation, the reason that they had come so late was because that they had managed to convince themselves that we were having this meeting back at the church, and they had gotten a ride up to the church to try and come to this meeting, only to find locked doors and an empty building. But of course, just because the building was empty didn't mean the youth weren't meeting. And just because the tomb was empty didn't mean that Jesus was gone for good. In fact, the opposite in both cases is true. The empty tomb symbolizes Jesus' presence out in the world. The empty church serves as a reminder to us that our ministry and worship needs to exist beyond those walls. Mary Magdalene and the other women weren't wrong for looking for Jesus at the tomb. It's where they thought Jesus would be, and it was born out of a desperate desire to be with Jesus. I think many of us feel that desire to be with Jesus and our church family right now. That is good and right. Hold on to that feeling. Use that feeling to remember now, as then, that just because the tomb and the church are empty doesn't change our Christian calling. Church still goes on, and see, God is doing a new thing. Remember that the risen Christ only is found where you least expect him. He wasn't at the tomb, and when he did appear to people, they didn't even recognize him until he wanted them to. I sit outside here today as a visual reminder of where Jesus is. Do not let the lack of coming physically into the church building cause you to forget the Christian message. Continue to live your lives in a way that reminds people the church is so much more than just a building. Care for your neighbors. Love your enemies. And also remember that even as gatherings of all sizes are banned, Jesus is still here with us. Until next time, may God be with you.